Nay there. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the very beginning of my Throne of Eldraine set review. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the preamble because we got a lot to get through. But this is my set review for the newest Magic set, which pre-release is next weekend. Hopefully we'll get all these out before people make it pre-releases, but the last couple might be a bit late. Just because pre-releases are starting on Fridays now, and I'm usually, if I do one a day, the last one will be on Saturday. I'm sorry if it's not all there. I'll try my best though. But, yeah. So, what I'm going to be reviewing the cards for is going to be for Limited. I love Limited. I think it's one of the formats I'm best at. No, it is Booster Draft is probably the format that I think I excel the most at. So it's mostly going to be for draft, but I will make notes for when an evaluation is different for sealed, like the pre-release. Yeah. So that's how I'm just going through, and this time I'm going to be doing a bit different. I'm actually going to be starting with the what I normally do last, which is like the multicolor cards, because a lot of limited set reviews start with this, because this contains most of the signpost cards to kind of introduce you to the archetypes, and that helps. So let us jump right into it then. So we're going to start with gold, and we're also going to hit the artifacts and lands here in this episode as well. So first off, we got Dance of the Manse, which is X white blue for sorcery. Return up to X target artifact and or non-aura enchantment cards, each with CMC X or less, from your graveyard to the battlefield. And if X is 6 or more, they are 4/4 creatures in addition to other types. So, white blue's thing in this set is enchantments and artifacts. So these kind of like both enchantress and kind of like artifact synergies, and we'll get into like some of the payoffs and stuff for there later, but this is honestly not one of them. Like, yeah, like if like you might end up playing it, but this is not a card that makes you want to go into that artifact and enchantment deck, because unless you can get like critical mass of artifact creatures, you're just not gonna get that many things that like will go into your graveyard. Like, people aren't mainboarding, like especially if you're looking at like on Arena Best of 1 drafting, people aren't mainboarding disenchants and things like that. And you know what, if the format might evolve to the point where that's happening, but Dance of the Manse isn't really what you want to be doing. And like, yeah, if you have the deck, you might want to pick it up and it might be useful, but you don't really open this and be like, yes, I want to be in this archetype, because it requires a lot of other things to come together. A, it's a gold card. B, you need to make sure you have critical mass of things that will die, so artifact creatures. And that can be a little bit difficult. But that said, I mean, if you can get like a few, like, if you're animating a few things, and if you're getting like 2 to 3 things from this, you're pretty happy with that. But also just like looking at the artifact creatures, like, it's not like the most amazing things in the world that you're reanimating. It's just like, kind of like your draft creatures for the most part, so maybe not. Helps to switch over to the right screen. Doom Foretold, which is 2 white and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-land, non-token permanent. If that player cannot, they discard a card, they lose 2 life, you draw a card, and you gain 2 life, and you create a 2/2 white knight creature token with Vigilance, then you sacrifice Doom Foretold. So, it is an abyss-like effect. So, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, they lose one of their permanents. This is not just creatures. And once it's worked its way through all of them, you get to essentially, this goes away, you get to replenish your hand, and you get a 2/2. And if you're the player who doesn't sacrifice anything, the life gain cancels out, and you just end up drawing a card and making a 2/2. So... Oh, okay, wait. Another thing you have to note is that it counts itself. So if you have to sacrifice, if it gets to you and you cannot sacrifice anything else, you'll have to sacrifice this and you won't get anything. So, like, the ideal place for this is when you have a lot more permanents on the battlefield than your opponent does. And it kind of ends and gets into this kind of like, either your opponent just like holds back, doesn't play anything and just like, let's get this over with so my stuff stops dying, or let's play out tons of stuff if they have any like food making engine and things like that, and whittle you away. And I just feel like Doom Foretold, there is a lot that can go wrong with this card, and while in constructed, these kind of sort of stack pieces are extremely powerful, I feel limited, like, especially, well, booster draft, I'm not talking about Q, but, I feel like so many times this will just go wrong. Because if you get into the situation where your opponent ends up with more permanents than you, also, wait, no, the food thing does not work because it's not a token. But, like, if your opponent ends up with more stuff than you, then you're sacrificing this, and you've lost your entire board at that point. That said, if it does start looking grim for you, you can always just sacrifice this instead of any of your other permanents. So, like, but then it's just not great. You spent 4 mana to maybe hit one person's thing. There's something said that, like, your opponent does have to sacrifice first. And, yeah, I feel like it's very situational when it will actually be good. I don't think it's a high pick, but, yeah, I just feel like it's so swingy in what specific circumstances it wants. It can be backbreaking for your opponent if it goes well, but yeah, it feels way too specific a situation. But because if you need to, you can just sacrifice itself. It's not the end of the world. So I don't hate Doom Foretold, but I'm not like going out. It's not like a pack button pick one, because that's the thing, for like a lot of things that when we're buying gold cards is both, hey, do I want to, like, is this something that like I want to like pick up early and like I want to commit to 2 colors early, and or do I want to splash for this if I pick it up? And so far neither of them you really want to splash for. Next we have Drown in the Lock, which is blue-black for an instant. Choose one. Counter target spell with CMC less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. Or, destroy target creature of CMC less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. So, this is going to be backbreaking standard. This is going to be so annoying in control and bleh. But, thing is, it is not good in the early game, and it relies on your controller's graveyard, not your graveyard. So you have a little bit less control over that aspect of it. And I think in blue-black it's a perfectly fine card, but I don't think it's premium removal by any means. It's just because it is just very situational. Like, by late game it becomes just a very good removal spell, but, or counter spell. But, the fact that it's just kind of dead early game until some other stuff starts dying, makes me not really care for it as a splash, but I'm happy to pick it up like picks, probably like 4 to 5 range, or maybe a bit earlier if there's just nothing there. But, this doesn't quite draw me into blue-black early. Like, I don't open Drown the Lock and be like, oh yes, I'm being blue-black. Because, like, it is worse than Murder, and it's 2 colors. Like, Murder was a card in M19 where she's like, you don't pick one Murder, and you're like, yeah, I mean, this is perfectly fine. I'm sorry, M20. Well, Murder was M19 too, and you do the same thing, but, and you'd be happy about that, and you're like, yes, it's a Murder, but this is not that. And, in the minute, the distinction between countering and destroying a creature is not very high. Escape to the Wilds. It's 3 red-green for a sorcery. Exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may play cards exiled this way until the end of your next turn. and you may play an additional land this turn. So, an easy comparison of this is Light Up the Stage. But this is significantly worse than Light Up the Stage in my opinion. Sure, it exiles more cards, but the fact is that it costs, say, 5 mana instead of Light Up the Stage's like an ideal 1 mana. Which means like at 5 mana, you're not casting any spells from those cards that turn. And yeah, it has extra selection, but you're not getting the all 5 value. You're not getting over twice the value as a Light Up the Stage. And by the time you have 5 mana already, the playing additional land is fine. And like, sure, you just got a bunch of extra cards, and I don't think it's bad. I think it's perfectly fine to run if you're already in Gruul, but I'm not like excited for this card. It's just like an okay draw spell for Gruul, and that's kind of where it sits for me. Feyburrow Elder. 1 green white for a 0/0 with Vigilance, but it gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control. So, just on its way, it is a 2/2 Vigilance, assuming you have no other colors of permanents. So if you're just playing a pure Celestia deck, you're great. For each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color. So unlike a lot of these mana dorks, he does not fix you very well, because you already kind of have to have the colors that you're already playing. Granted, this is good for like achieving adamant on cards, which we won't really see until we get to the monocolor stuff, but it does help with that, which is nice. But even though it doesn't actually help you splash, like a 3 mana 2/2 Vigilance, and obviously if you're splashing he gets better if you have like a third color, but even if like we're just going to ignore that and just play if you were just playing Celestia, a 3 mana 2/2 Vigilance that taps for 2 mana, it sounds really good. Most of the 3 mana dorks that tap for 2 colors are usually like 1/1s or like 1/3s, and a 2/2 Vigilance that can potentially grow is really nice. Also, Vigilance means that it's actually relevant in combat. It can get in there and tap for mana, and that's just really nice. But at the end of the day, it's just like a nice efficient creature. I'm not splashing for this because I don't like splashing for mana dorks, but you know, I'm happy to run it if I'm running the best color, so yeah. Garruk, Cursed Huntsman. 4 black-green for a 5 loaded Planeswalker. 0 create 2/2 black and green wolf creatures with when this creature dies, put a loyalty counter on each Garruk you control. -3, destroy target creature to draw a card. -6, which is honestly, unlike a lot of Planeswalkers, isn't the most unreasonable thing considering it starts at 5 loyalty. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and have trample. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because Garruk is probably one of the best cards in the set. He does everything you want a Planeswalker to do. Makes guys to defend himself, destroys creatures, and also he makes 4 power every turn, and that's just huge. He kills stuff, draws you cards when you kill yourself, and honestly an achievable thing. Garruk is just very powerful. Splash Room. You open Garruk in pack 2, you are now shifting your deck to play Garruk, because Garruk is very good and just nuts. I'm not going to spend much time on it because there's no point in like talking about how Garruk is good. Grumgully, the Generous. We have 1 red-green for an uncommon legendary, who is a 3/3, and have each non-human creature you control in your battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So there's this like red-green theme of like non-human creatures, because it's like the wilds versus like the realms of like all the castles of like the human kingdoms. But at the end of the day, you don't need to worry about having like human. If you have like mostly humans, like if your deck is like half your creatures humans, he is still great. He's a 3 mana 3/3, which is past the vanilla test. 3 mana 3/3s are great, and just making all your stuff bigger for very little effort and very little downside isn't bad. And like if you have decent like fixing and you have like a lot of non-humans, I don't mind splashing him either. Just because you're just getting a lot out of him, and it just helps really establish a board state very well. And apart from the mana issues, it's a very low opportunity cost. Because he's just a perfectly serviceable creature on his own. Improbable Alliance. This is blue-red for an enchantment. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. And you pay 4 in red-blue for draw a card and discard cards so you loot. So its whole thing in the set is drawing your second card each turn. So typically that's going to be things during your main phase. And it usually comes in either of straight draw spells or, looting effects like this. And there's a few rummaging effects. So this is kind of like one of the key draft payoffs for that archetype. And it's very, very good. Thing is, you play this early game, all of your looting effects turn into 1/1 flyers, which is very good. And if you draw this late game, okay, you've missed out on some value, but then you're just close to having a looting thing in value, because that looted is also 6 mana, draw a card, discard a card, make a 1/1 flyer, and that's very, very good. So I am very happy to run Improbable Alliance. I want to pick it up early. I'm not so sure first pick it, and you do need pieces to make it work, but it is a very good payoff for this archetype. It's the best non-rare payoff for the archetype by far. Yeah, and unlike some of the other payoffs, which are just the red ones, where you might have trouble triggering the second card each turn, you are in blue. There's many ways to draw just single extra cards in your turn in blue. You won't have a problem triggering this and getting a bunch of 1/1 flyers. Inspiring Veteran, which is red and white for 2/2, and other knights you control get +1/+1. So all the Maru combinations are all about knights. And this is a Night Lord. Obviously, if you're in Boros, it's 2/2 for 2. That sounds good and pumps most of your team, because there's a lot of knights in the set. Fun fact. And this one's also not bad, that if you have a few pieces of fixing, how do you say words? Words are really hard. If you are in either Rakdos or Orzhov, because those blues are both also knight decks, honestly, perfectly fine to splash, and actually quite nice to splash. It's quite nice, with a K, not knights to splash. What was I saying? Just because it bumps most of your team, and that's generally a good thing. There's not much else to say. Also, it's adorable. Luxwing Serpent. 4 blue-black for a 7/7 with flash. This card is great. I'm not going to spend much time on it, because this is an amazing just top-end payoff. You open this, you're playing blue-black. Have fun. But it's a 6 mana 7/7 flash. They don't see it coming. You have to eat a creature. You can come around and attack on the other side. You can pay blue and sacrifice an island, which by the late game is perfectly fine to make it unblockable. Which, that's 7 damage of unblockable damage. You can play black and sack a swamp, so you gain 1 life and draw a card. So it has built-in flood endurance, and you may pay blue and a black to exile 5 target cards from an opponent's graveyard, and you get to remove it, return it from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only when you cast a sorcery. I'm not gonna spend time. It's is better than Vanilla Test, has flash, has evasion, has card draw, and has recursion, all built into one. Yeah, this is very good. I'm not going to talk about it more because it's good. Maraleaf Pixie. green and blue for 2/2 of flying, and it can tap for green or blue. It's just a reasonable card. Like, it's nothing too fancy, nothing too not too many frills, but a 2-mana 2/2 flyer is already above rate for most flyers. And in fact, it's also mana rook is nice. Like, I'm not splashing for this, but perfectly fine in any Simic deck. Oko, Thief of Crowns, which is a 1 green blue for a legendary planeswalker, Oko, comes in with 4 loyalty. And it's a 4 loyalty and it +2, so essentially turn 1 when it comes down, that is a 3 mana 6 loyalty planeswalker. Oko is kind of annoying to get rid of on the board. So +2 is create a food token, and this is the first time food has come up. It's like clues for life gain. So it's an artifact that you can pay to and sacrifice it to gain 3 life. When we get into some other cards, there's a lot of cards that care about food, can sacrifice food for value other than just gaining life. And honestly, for the most part, that's where you want to be. Where you want these, if you're really going in on food, like, you don't, like, food is a nice upside on a lot of cards, but you don't care about it unless you have, like, the things that really make it good and you're not sacrificing it just for life gain. Life gain's fine situationally, and it's welcome if you have, like, spare mana to gain some extra life, but it's not really what you're looking for. But Oko +2 make a food token isn't bad. +1, target artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elf creature with base power and toughness 3/3. So, like, it doesn't, like, remove from the battlefield. Like, a 3/3 is a real creature, but few things to note. Just having that ability to do it when there's, like, a big giant thing that is a problem, just turning into a 3/3 and it stops being a problem anymore, is useful. Like, downgrading something while not straight removal isn't bad. B, he makes food. You can also turn that food into elks if you just want to, like, alternate making a 3/3 every turn. That is an option. And the -5, which is very easy to get to. It's not really quite an ultimate at that point. Exchange control of target artifact or creature you control, probably a food token, with target creature and opponent controls of power 3 or less. So you get to essentially, like, be like, here, have some food, I'll take your small guy. Like, Oko's annoying to deal with just because of how big he comes down and how fast he grows, and can kind of keep your board in check. Like, he doesn't defend himself super well, but he's a good supplementary thing, and he's not as, like, slam dunk as Garruk, but I think he's perfectly fine. I would splash for him, like, especially in, like, blue-black food, not blue-black, green-black food. Yeah, no. Oko seems good and kind of annoying to deal with. He just can do, like, a lot of different things decently well. Outlaws Merriment, which is 1 red, white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose 1 at random. Create a white and red creature token with those characteristics. 3/1 human warrior with trample and haste, 2/1 human cleric with lifelink and haste, and a 1/2 human rogue with haste, and says, and when this creature enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage or 1 damage to any target. So, for 4 mana, you get, like, a random token every turn. And all the tokens are actually, like, decent. And, I think this is just a very good card. Like, sure, like, you have to wait for it to come online. It's awkward if you're, like, really in your last legs, but just this constant, like, flow of tokens is very powerful. And if you're already base white, I would absolutely splash for this too, just because this can just be hard to deal with. Like, if they don't have enchant removal, like, they can't deal with, like, 3/1s and 2/1s forever. Like, each individual creature isn't great, but they can jump your stuff. If you get the clerics, they have a lifelink, and it's just, like, very solid, just strain that's kind of difficult to deal with unless they have evasion or, like, big travelers and stuff. But even then, you're going to have so much board presence value over the course of the game that you're doing really good for yourself. The Royal Scions. 1 blue and red for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. So these Planeswalkers in the set come down with a lot of loyalty. +1 is loot, draw a card and discard card. Honestly, like, for a 3 loyalty Planeswalker, I'm not expecting to just straight up draw a card, and looting isn't bad, especially in that blue-white theme, or blue-red theme. Second +1 is target creature gets +2/+0, needs first strike and trample until end of turn. I mean, it's good to like help show, so if you don't need the card selection, if you just want to push through some damage, it's not bad. I think for the most part I want to be looting, but that's just me liking to draw cards, but being able to just like punch through very effectively is nice. And the ultimate, which is -8, which, I mean, it comes down +1 to 6, and you could theoretically get it to 8. Draw 4 cards. When you do, it deals damage to any target equal number of cards in your hand. So it's a fine ultimate, but nothing super amazing. But at the end of the day, like Roll Scions, it gives you card selection, helps you punch through. It doesn't really defend yourself. Like, I think it'll be good. Like, it is not like a dud Planeswalker. And if it's not, apart from like dud Planeswalkers are generally kind of good. Both for their like benefit of like, hey, it's just very good value unless they can deal with them, and especially against not like top players, there is a like mental edge of having Planeswalkers in play where, in my experience, players tend to make riskier plays to get rid of Planeswalkers. They'll sacrifice creatures and attacks they wouldn't normally make and maybe aren't wise, just because they're like, oh, I cannot let them keep that Planeswalker in play. One thing I will say though is that about all the Planeswalkers in the set is that they have been increasing the number of removal spells that hit both creatures and Planeswalkers. So they're maybe not as safe as they did like in the pre-war, the Spark days, but they're being better at making sure that colors have direct answers other than creatures to hitting Planeswalkers. Savvy Hunter, which is 1 black and a green for a 3/3. So, already passed the field test. I'm quite happy with that. And whenever it attacks or blocks, make a food. And she is one of those ones that has a food outlet that she can sacrifice 2 foods to draw a card. And this is like black-green is all about food. Blue has a little bit of food stuff, but it's all about food, and this is a great thing for that food deck because it both makes food and it uses food. And honestly, sacrificing 2 food is to draw a card I'm really into that. So, like, Savvy Hunter seems just real solid, like, in those sort of decks. And if you're, like, in, like, blue-black or, like, blue-green, and you have some of the food stuff, but not all of it, I wouldn't mind splashing for this. I wouldn't splash for it unless you have that other food synergies going on. But, yeah, no, it just seems really efficient. Like, it passes vanilla test, and it's quite happy. Also, she's hot. Not that that's important, but it is important, but, yeah. Shiny Chaser. 1 blue, white for 1/1 with flying and vigilance. But it gets +1/+1 as long as you control an artifact, and +1/+1 as long as you control an enchantment. So this is a card that you're not splashing for, but if you are in that Azorius kind of enchantress artifact archetype, notably any food you have counts as an artifact for this little friend. And as long as you have 1 of them, a 3-mana 2/2 flying vigilance is fine, but and like if you have an enchantment like a 3/3 3-mana 3/3 flying vigilance is like not bad, but you are jumping through some hoops. So I think it's the end of the day where like if you're already in this archetype, you don't mind having this card, but if you're not in the archetype, you don't really care. Like it's not gonna like push you to be in that archetype. It's just it's there. Steelclaw Lance, which is red and black and red for a artifact and equipment, and it has equipped creature gets +2/+2. and has Equip Knight 1 and Equip 3 to anything else. Black-red is one of the Knight colors, so you'll have a lot of Knights like incidentally if you're on black-red. And you know what? An equipment with Equip 1 to give +2 to is real solid. Like it's competitively costed, it is not bad, but I don't think it's like amazing enough that you want to splash for. Like maybe if you're already splashing for full Mardu, maybe you run that, but yeah, it just seems fine. And I'm happy to run this in Rakdos, but it's nothing amazing. Like it'll be good, but not like this makes me want to play Rakdos. Stormfist Crusader, which is black and red for 2/2 with Menace, and it is a knight, which is relevant. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life. Okay, so it is a 2-mana 2/2 Menace, which is it is a thing I like, just like those are good stats. And really what it comes down to is how do you feel about giving your opponent cards? And from a strategic point of view, there's arguments for both ways that this can be bad, this can be good. And I think this one is actually kind of fine because it's symmetrical. I think it's symmetrical, but you get to use your cards first. And there will be those feel bad moments of like when you draw your opponent into the land that you're missing or things like that. But it's an efficient creature. And I think what it comes down to is what do you personally do? If you're the person who gets tilted when you're like you cause your opponents to draw cards and they get that, maybe don't play it because it's not worth your mental exhaustion. But if you don't mind that, I think it is perfectly fine. I don't think it's amazing, but it's fine. So, yeah. Wondermere. It is 1 green white for a 3/3. So already passing the vanilla test. And whenever you cast a creature spell that has an adventure, put a +1/+1 counter on Wondermere. So Celestia's kind of theme in this set is adventure cards, and we haven't seen any yet. I don't even think there are any like gold color ones, but there's a fair few of them. And honestly, for the most part, most of them are decent. And like, again, I wouldn't probably splash for this guy because it is just an efficient creature, and you're not really splashing for efficient creatures. But if you're on green-white, like, you're casting a lot of these creatures anyway, and the fact that it's caring about casting the creature side of it, and you don't even have to send them on an adventure first, means that, like, you're getting value for it regardless, and it's just real solid. Like, there's not much to say, it's just an efficient creature. Wintermoor Commander, which is white-black for a 2 and star, which is equal to the number, its toughness equal to the number of knights you control. So, on its own, it is a 2/1. It has Death Touch, and whenever it attacks, another target knight you control gains indestructible until end of turn. So, man, a 2/1 Death Touch on its own, I am perfectly happy with. Like, I don't mind that at all. Like, it attacks well, it blocks well, and the fact that like it can only get better if you have those knight synergies is real nice. Again, nice with a K. It's important. And also, no one's made that joke before. No one has. It's very late at night that I'm recording these. But like, I think this one is one that, like, I'm not really looking to splash for it, like, from the other night decks, like, unless I'm already splashing for one of the other, like, the color I'm missing in Mardu. But, that said, I'm perfectly happy, like, it isn't in the most amazing effect in the world, but it's just efficient. It's, and really, at the end of the day, what can you ask of your creatures? Okay, next one are the hybrid cards, and in most instances, like in the Ravnica block, you had to look at hybrid cards being, you needed to remember, like, okay, remember you don't need to be in both of these colors because you can do either of them, and yeah, maybe a little bit harder to cast, but don't worry about it. These are 4 deep in their pips. You need to be both colors for these. like, if you aren't both colors for these, you need to consider the color that it is to be a splash. Like, you need extra fixing in your primary colors. Just because 4 deep is very rough. So just keep that in mind, and essentially treat these as gold cards during draft. This Arcanist Owl is a 4 mana in Azorius for a 3/3 flyer. And when it enters battlefield, you may reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact or enchantment from among them and put it into your hand, and put the rest on your bottom. Also notably, it is an enchantment creature, or an artifact creature for things that care about artifacts. So, I mean, a 4 mana 3/3 flyer is something I do like. And the fact that you can, and like, grabbing a relevant type, and like, I feel a lot of the time it'll be look at the bottom 4 cards of your library, but it will sometimes hit something, and if you're already in that blue-white, like, Enchantress artifact deck, I'm happy to run this, but I'm not like, but again, like, you're not splashing for this. You're not splashing for any of these, really. Like, yeah, no. Covetous Urge, which is the Demir one, which is a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from that player's graveyard or hand and exile it. You may cast this card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast the spell. So it's a Thoughtseize and kind of steal your thing, which, I mean, again, like, in Demir, the fact that it hits things in your graveyard makes the thing a lot better, and the fact that it can, like, hit anything, creatures or lands or anything, is that you're just grabbing the best thing that has died or in your opponent's hand, and that seems fine. Like, if it was just a straight, like, Thoughtseize, I would say, like, no, this is terrible, but the fact that you get it also makes me like it quite a bit. So, I don't mind Covetous Urge, but again, you're not splashing for it. And honestly, all of these also, like, if gold cards are already putting you into a lane, early picking these are really putting you into a lane. Because, like, hey, you pick up, like, a normal, like, multicolor card. Okay, I may not end up in, like, black-red, but I could still splash for it if I end up, like, an Orzhov. These, you're not splashing. Like, you're either in these colors or you're not playing it. Deathless Night, which is the Golgari one. It is a 4/2 with haste. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, return it from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, 4/2 haste, I'm not really into those stats, but, you know, 4/2 with haste, and notably for the when you gain life for the first time, this is black-green. It's whenever you sacrifice a food. And, I mean, like, late game, just being like, okay, like, attack into it. Like, okay, they trade off or something. Like, end of your next turn, sack a food, go return to my hand, play it next turn, attack again. Okay, you want to trade of something? And that seems fine. Like, again, it's fine, and I'll run it if I'm in Golgari, but it doesn't push me towards playing Golgari. And I think it's a good spot from a design standpoint for all these creatures, where none of them feel like draws to their colors, just payoffs for being in those colors, which I think is a great place for these to be in, so people don't make poor mana-based decisions. Elite Headhunter, which is the Rakdos one, which is Rakdos for a 2/3 with Menace. It is a knight, which is relevant for Mardu colors. And you play Rakdos, and sacrifice another creature or artifact, notably food, and it deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. I mean, I think that's fine. Like, it's a food outlet that you can just, like, sacrifice food to shock stuff, and that seems decent. I mean, a 4 mana 2/3 menace is not great. Having a few also notably keep track of sacrifice outlets, because this is a format with active treason at common, so sacrificing your opponent's stuff is an option. It also has fling, so that kind of playstyle is there, that we didn't really see since like in full force since like Ravnica Allegiance or all the way back to M19. But keep that in mind. And if you have some of those pieces that like help like the steal your stuff, it isn't bad. And if you have night synergies, it's fine. Like, this one just seems fine. Fireborn Knight, which is a 4, it's the Boros one. It is a knight, because it's important to mention that. But it is a 2/3 double strike. So 4 mana 2/3 double strike is fine. We can also pay the same again, so 4 Boros to give it +1/+1, which with double strike isn't bad. Like, I don't mind this at all. Like with any of if the Boros Lord, it's not bad, and yeah. So it just seems perfectly serviceable. And also, realistically, you're not pumping this more than once. You normally will just be pumping it to be a 3/4 double strike, which is real stats. Like that's a real punishment. The fact that essentially because you've already cast this, and when it attacks, it'll be representing a 3/4 double strike, makes it very awkward to block. Luck Dragon, which is the Izzet one, and it is a 3/2 flyer. A 4 mana 3/2 flyer is fine. Like that's about par for flyers for the most part. Whenever it enters battlefield or attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So it lets you rummage, and that card selection is really nice, filtering extra lands, and notably also triggering anything that cares about drawing your second card. So like your unlikely partnership or whatever, your Iron Crag Pyromancers, and a few other cards like that. So I think if you're an Izzet, and if you don't have those payoffs, it's still not bad, but if you have them, it actually gets quite good. Oh, hey, there is an adventure in Green-White, which makes sense because Green-White is the adventure one. And we have Oakham Ranger, which is 4 Selesnya for a 2/2 with tap. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. And you know what? That's okay. And because it's a first adventure, adventures are essentially this thing where you can cast it from your hand as the adventure side, which are instants and sorceries, and then you exile it, and you can cast it as a creature from exile. Or you can just cast it as a creature. Its adventure is 4 Selesnya to create 2/1/1s. And both of these sides are a bit overcosted, but together with that flexibility, seems perfectly fine. Like, and that's kind of thing where I'm at on it. So, yeah, no, it just seems like it's kind of like think of also adventures kind of like at split cards where it's like, yeah, both sides may not be really cards you want to put in your deck, but the flexibility of both of them makes it a playable card, and I think Oakham Ranger kind of fits that bill. Rampart Smasher, which is the Gruul one. It is a 4 mana 5/5 that cannot be blocked by knights or walls. Being unblockable knights is actually super relevant in this format. There's knights left and right. And at the end of the day, also your Gruul, a 4 mana 5/5 sounds great. And the fact that it has relevant evasion, even better. It's a big Gruul torque that does big Gruul things. And Gruul wants big, dumb Gruul things. Resolute Rider. It's the Orzhov one that is a 4/2, and you may pay Orzhov to give it lifelink, and Orzhov to give it indestructible until end of turn. So this is another one where it's just kind of awkward to block, being a 4/2, but also being able to give it indestructible, kind of like that. Like, yeah, it's awkward to have to spend that mana, but the fact that you're representing it makes it awkward. And if they choose to not block, just like having it be a 4-point life swing or like an 8-point life swing is also very nice. That it's just like a nice efficient knight and not much else to say. Like most of these just seem like, yeah, this is a nice efficient creature for these colors, but nothing too exciting. Thunderous Snapper, which is Simic with 4/4/4. So it is a 4 mana 4/4, and 4 mana 4/4s are generally very good. Considered to be the strongest of the vanilla mana cost equal CMC equals power toughness creatures. And whenever you cast a creature of CMC 5 or greater, draw a card. So the Simic mechanic is kind of like a Simic ramp. That's kind of what it's going for, and you know what? This seems just real good. It's a good creature, and the fact that typically after a 4-drop, you're starting to cast 5 drops, and getting creatures off them sounds good. So, yeah. Also, it's a Turtle Hydra, which is awesome. Alright, now we're into the artifacts. That's all the multicolor cards in the set. Like, just good general like idea of what is going on there. Like, not quite the same powerful level that we've seen in the past sets, because we've just spent a year in Ravnica. But, still some nice stuff to like kind of direct you where you want to be going. But the first artifact we have is Clockwork Serpent, which is a 3-mana 2/3, which is I'm not super into that, but like sometimes you will just play a 2-mana 2/3. But it is adamant. This is the first adamant card we've seen. It enters battlefield. If at least 3 mana of the same color were spent to cast it, draw a card. 3 mana of the same color, or usually the color of that spell, is actually kind of a tall order for a lot of spells. Like, in limited, like, you can't rely on having adamant all the time. So I think that the good way to evaluate these is essentially, would I play this without adamant? Yes or no? And if no, I'm hesitant to play it. The adamant ability really has to put it over the top to make me really want to play it. And yeah, and this one, like, 3 mana 2/3, like, it's not great. And if on the other side of things you just a 3 mana 2/3 draw card is awesome. But if like sometimes you have to play as a 2/3 because you gotta stop some aggression, it's fine. But I perfectly like this, and also just having colorless creatures in case you do get mana screwed, like color screwed, seems good. Also, if you're color screwed and cast this, you're probably drawing a card too, so you're not totally out of luck. And also notably for white-blue, it counts as an artifact. Crashing Drawbridge, which is a 2-mana 0/4 wall with Defender, but you can tap it to give your creatures haste until end of turn. So I think like a similar card that this is to is Goblin Motivator from N19, which was a 1-mana 1/1 that could tap and give a creature haste. I did not like that card. I thought that card was garbage. This I actually think is decent. This is for a few key reasons. A, it gives all your creatures haste. But also an 0/4 is relevant on the board state. A 1/1 which you have to pay a card for seldom is. And just the fact that it will stop early aggression and allow you to like play out threats very quickly later makes me like just kind of like this card. Like, I'm not playing more than like one of these, but I'm not sad to put the first one on my deck. And like, I'm not going out of my way for these, but it seems perfectly fine. Enchanted Carriage is a 5-mana 4/4 vehicle of crew 2. And when it's battlefield, create 2 1/1 mouse creature tokens. Seems fine. Like, 4/4, like 5-mana 4/4 vehicles, but it comes with extra tokens, and it's pretty medium throughout, but a bunch of medium things stapled together turns out to be a decent thing. And like, it is a 5-drop, and typically I'm not usually starved for 5 drops in limited, but if you need one, I'm perfectly happy running an Enchanted Carriage. Gingerbrute, which is a 1-mana 1/1 of haste. And you may pay 1 colorless to make it cannot be blocked by except with creature with haste, which is very specific, and for the most part will mean unblockable. Like, there will be situations you do have things with haste, but think about it like a 1/1 that is kind of unblockable. And you pay 2 and tap it, then sacrifice it to gain 3 life. 1/1 unblockables for 1 are typically bad. Like, they're just not great. There are some things which I think might can redeem it. A, there is some equipment in the set, and if you have some like equipment, if you have like that Rakdos thing, like, and you can get it start swinging like a 3/3 that's unblockable. Yeah, that's cute. But it is also a food, so if you're in the food deck, maybe it makes it there, but it isn't like a premier food. I'm not going out of my way to play this. And like, if you're in the artifact deck and you're desperate for artifacts, it's fine. Like, this just feels like a card that will be perfectly and acceptable to if like I need the piece to make my archetype work, but outside of like blue-white or like black-green, I'm not playing this. Golden Egg, which is a 2-mana artifact food, and when it enters battlefield, draw a card. So already low opportunity cost. You just play it and you draw a card. The blue-white artifacts doesn't mind this. You may 1 and tap it to sacrifice it to add 1 mana of any color. You may 2 and sacrifice it to gain 3 life. I think this card is very good and like not picked highly, but like very like it's like a high mid-pack pick because it's fixing, and fixing is not as good in the set as we've seen in the past. Like we're not getting dual lands in the land slot, and like fixing is just okay in the set from what I've peeked ahead at, and this is one of your best fixing things. And even if you're not splashing, like it can help you like smooth out to get like an adamant play. And it's a food if you care about food at all. So at the end of the day, it just has a lot going for it, and very low opportunity cost because it just replaces itself. Hen Walker, which is a 3-mana 2/2 with adamant. And when it enters battlefield, if at least 3 mana of the same color were spent to cast it, it enters battlefield with +1/+1 counter. Okay, so assuming that we never get adamant, it is a 3-mana 2/2. I don't like that at all. And if you do get adamant, it's a 3-mana 3/3, which I'm just like, that's fine. Like these colorless ones are a little bit easier to get adamant on because you have flexibility on which color you use all of it for, but it's just like, I'm not excited for this card. I'll play it if I need to fill up my 3 drops, but I'm not happy about it. Hara Banner, which is a 3-mana artifact. When it enters battlefield, choose a color. Creatures of the chosen color get +1/+0, and you may tap it to add 1 mana of the chosen color. The fact, like, it can fix you, but granted, if it is fixing you, it is not helping you. It doesn't necessarily pump out your whole team if it's like you're like doing it for your splash, which is kind of awkward. And I mean, like the anthem effect is cute and nice, and like good if you have like lots of like 1/1s and things like that. And the ramp is okay if you actually need to curve out your mana curve, and it's not a great mana rock, but if you need a mana rock, it is a mana rock for you. So that's about where I'm out on it. Inquisitive Puppet. It is a 1-mana 0/2. When it enters battlefield, scry 1, and you may exile it to create a 1/1 human creature token. It isn't that exciting. Like the scry 1 is like kind of replacing itself, and the fact that I could like block something and like jump block something and then make a 1/1 is fine. Like it's a good 23rd. It's not a good 23rd. It's a 23rd card. I'm not embarrassed to put the first one in it, but like, well, I am kind of embarrassed, but I'm not happy about it. Like if I care about artifacts for some reason, it's not bad, but yeah, it's just like Jousting Dummy. It's a 2-mana 2/1 artifact that is notably a knight, and you pay 3 to give it +1/+1 until end of turn. Honestly, this is just decent if, like, hey, are you playing a knight stack? Do you need some more 2-drop knights? Here's Jousting Dummy. He isn't good, but he's a knight for all your knight synergies. Yep. Luxwing Gargoyle. A 1-mana 0/3, and you can pay 4 mana to give it +2 and +0 and gain flying until end of turn. I'm not a fan of this. Like, when it's not turned on, it's just not very good. Like, the M19, it's like similar to like M19 Sentry Gargoyle, which was like a 3/3 of Defender, but it gained flying and lost Defender when you spent 3 mana, and that was a good card. This is just like, it's not doing anything when it's turned off, and it's very expensive to actually get in there and hit, and you're only hitting for 2, so I don't like Luxwing Gargoyle like at all. Lucky Clover, which is a 2-mana artifact. Whenever you cast an instant adventure instant sorcery, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. This is one which can be extremely powerful, but you kind of already want the instance, like the adventures. So obviously, like in green-white adventures, it's quite good, and that's where you want it because you're going on a way to get your already ranks, and maybe it's not as good adventures, but you're happy with that. But I wouldn't really go out of my way to pick this up until I already have some, and I probably want like at least like 5, preferably more adventures before I'm really wanting to run this in my deck personally. So, Prophet of the Peak. It is a 6-mana 5/5, and it Winter's Battlefield, scry 2. So 6-mana 5/5 does pass the vanilla test, but once you're past kind of the 4/4 range, like the vanilla test isn't as important, because like a 5/5 will always be a relevant body. Like it's seldom that a 5/5 won't be. You will scoff at a 5/5, and the scry 2 is nice. Like scry 2 is almost a card. Like scry 2.5 is like the common wisdom for equivalent to a card, and like 6-mana 5/5 draw 4/5 of a card seems pretty good to me. And yeah, no, I like Prophet of the Peak a lot. Yeah, I mean, granted it is a 6-drop and you don't want so many 6-drops, but if you need a 6-drop in your deck, there are worse places to look than Prophet of the Peak. Roving Keep. It is a 7-mana 5/7 with Defender, and you pay 7 mana to give it +2/+0 and gain trample in middle turn, and it can attack this turn as if it doesn't have Defender. It's like, yeah, I don't want to be paying 7 mana for my Colossal Dreadmaw every turn, even if it's a little bit better Colossal Dreadmaw. And 7 mana is a lot of mana. Like, I want to have some ramp sources before I'm running this, and even then I'm kind of unhappy. I want to have a better top-end cards, but if you're really lacking a top-end, I guess you can. Scalding Cauldron, which is essentially the set's Vial of Dragonfire, which is 1 mana artifact, and you pay 3 and sack it to deal 3 damage to target creature. It's just like, okay, I like this a fair bit more than Vial of Dragonfire, which costs more to activate, but 1 mana, like, that's easier to squeeze into the curve to actually play it onto the battlefield. There are things I actually care about having artifacts, and 3 damage is much more significant than only doing 2 damage. So, I don't mind this. Like, if you have lots of better removal, run that before you run this, but I mean, if you're like in blue or green and your removal's tight, there are worse things to choose for removal. Shambling Suit. It is a 3-mana star 3 with its power equal to the number of artifacts and or enchantments you control. So obviously it is a 1/3 at base, and it can grow bigger. So I feel like if you're in that blue-white artifact enchantment deck, or even black-green food, because you're making lots of food and it's getting bigger, I like this. I actually don't think it's terrible, but you do need to be one of those decks to really make it good. Like, if you can make it a 3/3, it's great, and if you can make it bigger, it's real solid, but you want to have some other artifacts or enchantments in your deck, so. Signpost Scarecrow. It is a 4-mana 2/4 with Vigilance, and you pay 2 to add 1 mana of any color. So it's kind of like a Prismite, but if you're running low on 4-drops and you need to splash, like 2/4 is a lot better than a Piker, like on Prismite. And it seems fun. Like, if you need like fix your mana to like cast an adamant spell or do a splash, it seems fine. So like, if you need that fixing, I don't hate this as much as I hate other like similar effects, because the body isn't nothing. Sorcerer's Broom, which is a 2-mana 2/1, and whenever you sacrifice into the permanent, you may pay 3. If you do, create a token that's a copy of it. Rakdos kind of has a sacrifice theme, and, you know, if you have those things for it, sure, but 3 mana is a lot, and that's on top of whatever effect it is sacrificing your permanents. And if you're not doing that, we're only making 2/1s. I mean, that's it. Once you make 2, the next one you sacrifice. Like, and also, it's not like Meet Yourself Calculator where it was like pay 1 to duplicate it from Dominaria, because realistically, you're not doubling them. So, I'm not even high on that, even within that archetype. Like, that's not really what I'm looking to do. Like, the mana-heavy combos I want to do in the sacrifice deck is active treason your character, sacrifice it. Sorceress is Spyglass, reprint from Ixalan. It's a 2-mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, look at your opponent's hand and then choose any card name, and it shuts down activated ability of the sources of the chosen name, unless they're mana abilities. It's a decent sideboard card if you want to bring it in and name Garuk, because you can't beat the card otherwise, but it's not a high pick and you don't want to mainboard this ever. Spinning Wheel. Now this is a mana rock. 3 mana to tap 1 mana of any color, so it's a manalith. But you can also pay 5 and tap target creature. That's very expensive for an Icy Manipulator, but it's kind of like fixing and ramp first, and late game, it is also removal, and that seems real sweet. Like, both of those things combined make me really like this card, and I wouldn't mind picking this up early, like quite early. Just like having that fixing, having that ramp, and having that control in late game seems real nice. Stone Coil Serpent, which is X for a 0/0 that enters battlefield with X plus +1 counters on it, and has reach, trample, and protection from multicolored. Ugin's Contrant and Word of the Spark was an amazing card, and was very good. This is strictly better in a million different ways. It doesn't lose counters when it takes damage, it has reach and trample. It's a giant badass robot snake. This thing is nuts. Like, this easily first pickable. Honestly, you should never pass this. Like, it's a rare. You should take this. Like, unless there's like really nuts uncommon removal, take this, because it goes into every deck. It fits anywhere in your mana curve, and it's just, its flexibility and its draw power, because it's always passing the vanilla test. It's always, it always fits on curve. You're never like not like having enough mana for it. It's just, beautiful. Weapon Rack. It is a 4-mana artifact, and there's battlefield with 3 plus +1 counters on it. And we tap it to move one of those counters from it onto a target creature. You can only do that when you cast a sorcery. Now, would you pay 4 mana with a card that said, distribute 1, 2, or 3, or distribute 3 plus +1 counters on 1, 2, or 3 creatures? No? Well, what if I told you that it took 3 turns to move those counters? Do you want that there? Definitely not. This is garbage. Don't play this. It's so slow. If it was instant speed and you could like get the threat of activation, like maybe, but like even for the artifact deck, play any other card. There's no counter synergies in this. There's just no. I think it's a cool card design, but it's just so overcosted. Witch's Oven. It is a 1-mana artifact, and you may tap it to sacrifice a creature and make a food token. And if sacrifice creature was toughness was 4 or greater, create 2 food tokens instead. I think, okay, if you have like critical mass of active treasons or you're in the food deck, then I like this, where having that sack outlet is nice, because sometimes you just chump block, sacrifice that, and make a food, and I quite like that. I mean, outside of those decks, though, it's not great. Like, this is like the ideal like combo of active treason, but yeah, I'm not really that excited about this. So, outside of those decks, not really wanting to run this. Alright, now we're on to lands. So, we're on the home stretch of this video. I know it's a longer video because this is going to be the longest of those videos, but we'll get through it. So, this is the cycle of castles. So all these castles have the thing where the interval tap unless you control like the same color of land. So also you're not going to really want to splash these because they have like highly costed activated abilities. But honestly, play any of them that are in your colors. They are all fantastic. Castle Ardenvale, the white one, is essentially you can pay 2 white to make a 1/1. And all these effects might look at it and be like, hey, that's not really like an effect I'm really looking to go pay that much mana for, but it's mostly like, hey, I have nothing else to do with my turn, I'll make a 1/1. And it makes colored mana, and there is so low opportunity cost for including these in your deck that you should just run them, and honestly pick them pretty highly because they're all pretty good. Maybe not the green one. The green one's in limit, I should say. Castle Empress is the red one, and it's 1 red to give all your creatures +1/+0. Garen Brig, which is the 2 green to tap to add 6 green. So essentially kind of like adds 1 mana to your mana pool, which is fine. Like, it essentially, when you get to 5 lands, it taps for 2 mana, and that seems, it's not bad, but it's like, it's not like, I don't think it's on the same level as the other ones. I mean, I should say unlimited. In constructed, lands that tap for more mana are nuts. But unlimited, like, casting your 6-drop 1 turn early isn't winning the game necessarily. Castle Luxwing, which is 1 black and tap it to draw a card, and you lose life equal number of cards in your hand. It is limited, so oftentimes you're just going to end up being hellbent, especially when you're activating this. So typically it's generally draw a card, lose a life. And that's very good. And finally Castle Ventress, which is 2 blue to scry 2, which is just real nice too. But like, Dire Cycle, very good. Take them highly. They're very good, and also play them. So then there's the secondary common cycle. And these interval tap unless you control 3 or more of that type of land. And that's a little bit higher of an opportunity cost, where, and also they all have effects, but only if they enter untapped. So you already need to be like 3 into that. So obviously you don't want to do it on splash. Honestly, I don't want to use these really if I am splashing, because I want to make sure that like I'm activating these abilities, because I mean tap lands aren't back-breaking and limited like they are in constructed, but you don't want that for something, or not, or like if you are seldom going to trigger this ability, you don't want to run them. Like if I'm running if I'm running like less than 9 of that basic land in my deck, I don't want to run the equivalent one. So first one is Dwarven Mine, which is, if it is untapped, you make a 1/1. And also these effects are very minor for the tap benefit, but like, yeah. Slight detail from that cycle to Fable Passage. It's essentially Evolving Wilds, but if you have a lands on the battlefield, it doesn't enter the battlefield tapped. This is very good. Evolving Wilds is generally just pretty good and limited, and this is just a pretty good fixing land. So, yeah. Also, it isn't going to be cheap, so yeah, rare draft it. Okay, back to the other cycle, which is Gingerbread Crabbin, and if it enters battlefield tapped, create a food token. Idyllic Range, when your battlefield untapped, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Mystic Sanctuary, it returns a target instant story for card from the graveyard on top of your library. Tournament Grounds, it's essentially a tri-land specifically for Mardu Knights, and typically in Mardu you're to be splashing for Knights. And even if you're not splashing, I think this is a decent card just because it's like you're going to be playing a lot of Knights, and this is an untapped dual land for that. So, yeah, it's good for that deck. And then finally in that cycle, which is Cottage, which essentially is the same thing as the blue one, but it puts a creature from a graveyard on top of your library. But I like the blue and black ones, and I think those are the 2 best ones. The other ones have just such a minor effect that I'm not super into them. Like, if you are heavy on that color, yeah, sure, run them, but I question whether it's like even worth kind of the tempo loss to run them. So, that's about where I'm at on there. And that would be everything for this video. So, oh, I forgot how hard tiring this was. I skipped it for Magic 2020, but I'm back. I'm doing it. And like I said, I hope to get them all out by the time everyone going to pre-release. And yeah, let me know if you disagree with any of my assessments of these cards, because I want to get better at this format too, just like everyone else, and kind of having that dialogue helps. But yeah, well, I hope you all have a wonderful night, and if you're heading off to pre-release before watching the other ones, best of luck to you, and as always, may your story smile upon you.